Oh, hello. My name is Ross Kelly, and I used to be a mussel farmer in Argyll in Scotland. Then something happened that changed my life completely, and I think by the time I've told you about it, it should have a similar effect on yours. I certainly hope so, anyway. In 1996, a sequence of events occurred that was hidden by the Vatican, British intelligence, American intelligence, and other institutions who had been on the trail of that sequence of events for a long time. It all started when something happened in the Portuguese village of Fatima in the year 1917. First of all, there was a loud sonic boom heard by a lot of people. After that, there followed a sequence of solar activity that was witnessed by 70,000 people. It was a very strange thing that they saw. It appeared to them that the sun danced around the sky, moving from place to place instead of staying in its normal slow movement sequence. Some of the witnesses said that they saw the sun appear to shoot down to the horizon and back up into the centre of the sky again. By normal physics, it would seem to be an impossibility that people could witness such a thing, and yet they all swore that it had happened. What they actually saw was not the physical movement of the sun or the earth. It was actually a replay of time shown to them by the intelligence that lies behind the shining of the sun. I know that because in the early months of 1996, I had a direct solar link experience myself. I'll be telling you about that experience in a minute. But first, I'll get back to Fatima. When the Fatima event happened, 3 children belonging to the Marto family, they were illiterate shepherds, and they were out in the fields by themselves. The oldest of the 3 children, the cousin of the other 2, who were brother and sister, was the first to notice, according to Vatican reports, the sun appearing in an unusual manner. It was Lucia, the cousin of the Marto brother and sister, who first noticed that the sun was appearing in a different way from usual. She called to her cousins and told them, "Look at the sun, look at the sun." When they did, they met the same intelligence that I met in 1996. And what they experienced was a feminine quality of extraordinary beauty. The sun didn't appear to be yellow like it normally does, and there was no glare around it. What the children saw was a blue disk of light extending into infinity, and on looking into it, they connected to the intelligence that is the thing that operates our lives. It's actually the intelligence that gives us our own thought, our creator, the feminine god, Anna. Now, I learnt that Anna was her name, or is her name, after having my solar link in 1996. The children in Fatima reported to other people in the town the fact that they had met a beautiful woman at the time of their solar experience, which the Vatican later claimed was the Virgin Mary. When the children met that beautiful woman, they received instructions directly from her, telling them to return to the same place a month later and to bring writing materials with them, even though they were totally illiterate. When the second meeting took place, the Marto boy, Francesco, was used to do something that illiterate people can't normally do. What he did was that he produced a copy of a letter written in the handwriting of an English child, in English. Later, when the Vatican investigated the Fatima episode, they had the children taken into custody by the civil authorities, the police, and the police used threat of violence while interrogating the children. They wanted to make sure that they got all of the facts about all of the things that had happened to the children into the open. Not the general public's open, but to the Vatican. When the Vatican discovered the production of the letter, they knew that something very real and something very important had occurred there, but they didn't know why. The letter itself did not contain an explanation for its production, and it worried the Vatican because they knew that God had done it, but they had no idea what the purpose of the letter was. I now know that in between the years of 1917 and 1996, British intelligence were told the truth about what had happened in Fatima. After the Fatima events, the Vatican claimed that the Virgin Mary had given the children messages to be delivered to the Pope, and they also said that the Virgin Mary had told the children that they would soon be going to heaven, meaning they would be dying soon. Within 2 years of those events, the Marto brother and sister were dead, and the cousin, Lucia, was put in a convent where she spent the rest of her life, and she actually lived until last year when she died. During her time in the convent, she had no direct communication with the outside world unless she was accompanied by people who were controlling the PR on the event, Vatican people. So the real secret of Fatima was hidden at that time, and it turned out that the reason for the production of the letter didn't actually materialise until the year 1996. The reason that the Vatican told British intelligence is because they had reasoned that the letter that the Fatima child had written actually belonged to somebody, because the writing in the letter was consistently the same all the way through. And the boy in Fatima, of course, had no handwriting of his own. Now, it wasn't until June 1996 that British intelligence actually found out, or at least got their first major clue about the identity of the real boy who wrote the real original letter. The Fatima version was a copy of it. Now, in 1996, after I had had my solar link experience in Scotland, I compiled a document called the Letter of the Law, which was a 7-page letter, a typed letter, that contained an account of my experience and my understandings that had been given by the occurrence of the experience. The way in which British intelligence obtained my letter was by intercepting a letter that I sent to Camilla Parker Bowles, with which I included a note asking Camilla Parker Bowles to pass the letter on to her friend Prince Charles. I did this because I thought that valuable information in the hands of somebody who already had a public platform would be more useful than it would be in my own hands. It turned out, however, that God had another reason for the sending of that letter. I didn't know it, but 2 months before I posted that letter from Oban in Scotland, British intelligence had witnessed a startling thing in a mental hospital in London. In April 1996, a female mental patient, a middle-aged lady, who did not know what she was doing most of the time, and certainly had no idea what she was doing when she did this, reproduced a precise replica of the letter that the boy in Fatima had written, enlarged on the wall of her room. It nearly filled the entire end wall of her little room in the Gordon Hospital. Among the people who were brought in by the startled doctors who saw what the woman had done were people working for British intelligence, and of course when they arrived and saw it, they knew precisely what it was because they already had the Fatima copy. At that point they still didn't know precisely why the writing on the wall had occurred. It wasn't to be until October 1996 that they found out the full importance of that piece of writing. After sending the letter to Camilla Parker Bowles, my wife and family and myself went to the Canary Islands for an extended holiday. We didn't actually know whether we were going to go back to Scotland at that time, because quite a number of startlingly wonderful things had started happening to us after I had experienced my direct solar link to Anna. In May 1996, my wife Elaine was given an equally enlightening experience that let her know that God is real. This, to me, was a wonderful thing, because for 16 years we had been together, and during that time I had been unable to communicate my thoughts about the nature of reality. So to see Elaine receive enlightenment in the visual way that I saw it happen to her, I actually saw her eyes light up like the sun, only not quite in the same brilliant violet blue way that I had met that intelligence, but in a much deeper violet blue. It was like watching the eyes of a goddess looking out of Elaine's face, and it started in her eyes, but after that her face shone with the same light, and I knew that God was introducing herself to Elaine. So prior to the production of the letter that got sent to Camilla Parker Bowles, both Elaine and I knew that something extraordinary was happening to us.